What has been going on inside the Burruss Tucker family will leave you stunned. On the outside, they look like one of those picture-perfect celebrity couples. Successful, stylish, deeply in love, raising beautiful children together. To the world, Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker give off the image of a family that has it all. But behind closed doors, the reality is very different. What happens when love, loyalty, jealousy, and unspoken resentment all mix inside one household? The truth is so sharp it could cut through steel. This isn't just about two parents trying to raise their kids. This is about what happens when children from different relationships are brought together under one roof, each carrying their own baggage, their own expectations, and their own desire to be loved the most. This is about a blended family that should have been filled with unity, but instead has been pulled apart by comparisons, favoritism, and feelings that were never truly addressed. From the beginning, Kandi and Todd knew that raising their children in a blended home would be complicated. They share two kids together, Ace and Blaze, who have brought them endless joy. But the biggest challenge hasn't been with the little ones. It's been with the two older daughters from their previous relationships, Real Burruss, Kandi's daughter, and Kaela Tucker, Todd's daughter. At first glance, you might think it's just normal teenage drama, two girls clashing, competing, and struggling to get along. But the tension between Real and Kaela has grown into something far deeper, something that threatens the peace inside the entire family. And at the very heart of it lies Riley's difficult relationship with her stepfather, Todd. For years, Real has struggled to fully accept Todd as her father figure. Even though he stepped into her life and tried to be there, she always felt a distance between them. No matter what he said, there seemed to be an invisible wall keeping them apart. And what made it worse for Real was the way Todd treated Kaela. Real couldn't ignore it. Todd always seemed softer, warmer, and more attentive toward Kaela. To Real, it looked like favoritism. And no matter how many times Todd said he loved both girls equally, Real didn't believe it. She began to carry a heavy resentment in her heart. Every time she saw Kaela getting attention, Real felt smaller. Every time she felt overlooked, the wound went deeper. This wasn't just teenage jealousy. It became a long-lasting resentment, something that built walls between the two girls. Real started looking at Kaela not just as her stepsister but as her competition, someone standing in the way of the love and attention she thought she deserved. But here's where things took a shocking turn. Kandi herself, without even realizing it, began making the situation worse. As protective as she has always been of Real, she never fully welcomed Kaela into her arms as a daughter. Everyone could see it. On social media, she would post pictures of Real smiling at family gatherings or vacations with Ace and Blaze, but Kaela was almost always missing. It wasn't subtle. The public noticed it. Kaela noticed it. And Real noticed it too. For Real, this only confirmed what she already believed, that her mother was on her side, that Kaela didn't belong, and that Todd's favoritism was unfair. What could have been a beautiful blended family turned into a home filled with invisible tension, where every small action was interpreted as favoritism or rejection. So, why didn't Kandi step in to fix it? She's known for being strong, for standing up for her children, for protecting her family. But in this case, she let the wound fester. Was it because of her own history with Todd's ex? Was it because she simply preferred Riley's presence over Kaela's? Or was it something deeper, a quiet discomfort she never wanted to confront? On the other side, Todd tried to keep the peace. He told both daughters time and time again that he loved them equally. He reminded them that they were family, that they both mattered. But was that enough? Sometimes love has to be shown through more than words. Sometimes actions, or the lack of them, speak louder. And for Real, Todd's words didn't line up with what she saw. She felt neglected, abandoned, and overlooked. And when she saw her mother staying distant from Kaela, she took it as validation. She thought, see? Even mom sees that Kaela doesn't belong here. Meanwhile, Kaela carried her own quiet pain. She had to grow up watching her father's new family embrace each other while she remained on the outside. Even in her own father's home, she felt like a visitor, like she was being tolerated rather than truly embraced. And although she didn't always express it, that pain cut deep. As time went on, the house felt like it was divided into teams. Riley stood close with her mother. Kaela leaned on her father. And in between were Ace and Blaze, too young to understand why family dinners felt heavy, why their older sisters barely spoke, why every gathering carried an edge. The deeper truth is that both girls were hurt in different ways. Riley wanted to feel that her stepfather loved her as much as he loved his daughter. Kaela wanted to feel that her stepmother truly accepted her into the family. But instead of healing, both of them got pulled into a cycle of competition and bitterness. Todd and Kandi's marriage wasn't immune either. Even though they love each other, the strain of watching their daughters fight slowly crept into their relationship. Every disagreement between Riley and Kaela turned into a silent question between them: whose side are you on? The family tried to brush it under the rug. They smiled on TV. They laughed on social media. But the cracks were there, and everyone inside the home could feel it. No birthday party, no vacation, no family dinner was free from the weight of Riley and Kaela's silent rivalry. And then came the breaking point. Todd, realizing that things were spiraling out of control, decided to sit his daughters down. He wanted a heart-to-heart. He wanted to put everything on the table and finally end the distance. But when the three of them sat together, it didn't go the way he hoped. Instead of opening up, Riley let out years of bottled-up resentment. She told Todd she never felt like he loved her as much as Kaela. She told him she always felt pushed aside. And Kaela, instead of defending her father, broke down about feeling rejected by Kandi, about feeling like she was never truly welcome. It was a heartbreaking moment. Two daughters, both hurting, both misunderstood, sitting across from a father who had tried to love them but failed to make them feel equal. What Todd thought would be a healing moment turned into a storm of tears, accusations, and painful truths. For the first time, he saw how deep the wounds were. Words of reassurance were no longer enough. The damage had been done. And that's the most painful part of this story. Neither Riley nor Kaela truly hated the other. They both wanted the same thing: to feel like they mattered, to feel like they belonged, to feel like they were loved without condition. But instead of coming together, they were pushed apart, forced to compete for the same thing when there should have been enough love for both. This isn't just a story about sibling rivalry. It's a story about what happens when unspoken pain sits in a family for too long. When favoritism, whether real or perceived, poisons the bond between children. When parents don't realize that their small actions, who they post, who they embrace, who they smile at, can leave lasting scars. Now the question is, can the Burruss Tucker family fix what has been broken? Can Riley and Kaela find a way to see each other not as competition but as sisters? Can Kandi learn to open her heart fully to Kaela? Can Todd balance his love without making one daughter feel less than the other? The answer isn't simple. The road to healing is long. But one thing is clear: unless the wounds are faced openly and honestly, this family risks being divided forever. Because at the end of the day, this was never about wealth, fame, or social media. This was about love, the one thing that should never feel like it has to be earned. The cracks in the Burruss Tucker family were never just about Riley and Kaela. It would have been easier if it was only about two sisters not getting along. But the truth ran deeper. The tension grew out of the complicated relationship between Todd and Kandi themselves. Behind every tear, every argument, and every moment of silence in that house, there was a bigger question hiding in plain sight. Could two parents truly build a family when old wounds and hidden fears were still in the way? At the center of it all was Kandi's struggle to embrace Kaela as fully as she should have. She loved her daughter Riley fiercely, and she never hid her protectiveness. But when it came to Kaela, something in her heart stayed distant. Maybe it was because of Todd's past, maybe it was because of unresolved issues with his ex, or maybe it was simply because Kandi had never pictured herself raising someone else's child. Whatever the reason, her hesitation created a wall. Kaela felt it. Riley saw it. And Todd, no matter how much he wanted to ignore it, could sense it too. This left Riley in an impossible position. On one hand, she adored her mother and trusted her with everything. On the other, she could see how much her stepfather wanted peace, how badly he wanted his daughters to feel equal. Riley was caught in the middle of two loyalties: her love for her mother and her awareness of her father's frustration. No teenager should have to carry that weight, but Riley carried it every single day. Todd, meanwhile, started to feel like his dream of a united home was slipping through his fingers. He had always believed that love was enough. That if he told his daughters they mattered, if he reminded them that he cared, it would all work itself out. But the longer he watched Riley pull away and Kaela sink into her quiet sadness, the more he realized words were not enough. Love was necessary, but it wasn't the whole answer. Healing needed actions, consistency, and a willingness to face the truth head-on. That's what made this moment so startling. Todd, for the first time, asked himself the hardest question of all: when the foundation of love and trust has already been damaged, how do you build again? How do you convince children who feel overlooked, or a wife who feels conflicted, that things can still change? He didn't have a clear answer, but he knew that doing nothing would cost him everything. Riley and Kaela also began to feel the weight of the situation. They were no longer just fighting each other, they were questioning what family even meant. Could you call someone your sister when every part of you wanted to compete with her? Could you trust a parent's love when it always felt unbalanced? For both girls, it wasn't just about sibling rivalry anymore, it was about identity, belonging, and the meaning of love itself. And through it all, Kandi couldn't escape her role in the story. Her hesitation toward Kaela was impossible to ignore. She didn't openly push her away, but her silence spoke louder than words. Every time she posted Riley's picture and left Kaela out, every time she showed up for Riley's events but skipped Kaela's, every time she smiled at Riley but looked past Kaela, it added fuel to the fire. Whether she realized it or not, she was shaping the way both girls saw themselves. But the story didn't end there. Something shifted after months of tension, arguments, and sleepless nights. Todd reached a breaking point. He understood that if he didn't act differently, he would lose both of his daughters, not just Riley, not just Kaela, but the chance to truly hold his family together. For the first time, he chose to stop leaning on words alone. He decided to start showing his love in ways no one could deny. He began by being present, fully present. He went to every school event, every recital, every sports game, every small milestone, even when his schedule was packed. He spent one-on-one time with Riley, asking about her day, listening without judgment, letting her know she was seen. He did the same with Kaela, making sure she understood that she wasn't just a visitor in his world, she was part of it. And slowly, something extraordinary happened. Riley's perspective began to shift. For years, she had seen her father's love for Kaela as competition, as proof that she wasn't enough. But now, she started to realize that love didn't have to be divided, it could be shared. For the first time, she stopped seeing Kaela as a threat and began seeing her as a sister who had been hurting just like her. At the same time, Kandi started to reflect. She saw how much her distance had contributed to the problem. For so long, she had been Riley's protector, but in trying to shield her daughter, she had accidentally built walls around Kaela. Little by little, she began to change. She invited Kaela to sit with her more often. She included her in family trips. She began posting pictures of her with the other kids, not just Riley. And though it wasn't easy, though she still wrestled with her own unease, Kandi took step after step toward embracing Kaela as part of the family she had built with Todd. The healing wasn't perfect. There were still nights when old wounds resurfaced, still moments when jealousy crept back in. But something new had started to grow: understanding. Riley and Kaela didn't become best friends overnight, but they began to talk, to share, to laugh in small moments. They started to see each other's pain, and in doing so, they found compassion. For the first time, forgiveness seemed possible. And here's the most shocking part: what once felt like an unbreakable rift began to feel like a distant memory. The Burruss Tucker family began to rebuild, not into the flawless picture the world once imagined, but into something real. They realized that family isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about choosing each other even when it's hard. Todd and Kandi showed their daughters that love isn't just about grand gestures or social media posts. Love is about showing up, even when you're tired. It's about listening, even when you don't fully understand. It's about forgiving, even when the past is painful. And in modeling that, they gave Riley and Kaela the permission to try again. So what's the lesson in all of this? Can a broken family truly heal? The answer isn't simple. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes vulnerability. But the Burruss-Tucker story proves that healing is possible. Even when trust is broken, even when jealousy has built walls, even when silence has replaced laughter, there is still hope. For Riley and Kaela, the journey isn't over. There will still be disagreements, still be difficult moments. But the foundation is stronger now. They no longer see each other as rivals fighting for scraps of love. They are starting to see themselves as sisters, standing side by side, learning how to share a family that belongs to them both. And for Kandi and Todd, the road has been filled with lessons. They learned that words without action don't heal wounds. They learned that favoritism, whether intentional or not, leaves scars. But they also learned that when two parents commit to working through the hardest parts, even the most fractured family can find its way back to love. The world is still watching them. People wonder, will the Burruss-Tucker family continue to grow closer, or will the shadows of the past rise again? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: they've made a choice. A choice to stay, to fight, to heal, to build. And maybe that's the greatest lesson of all. Families don't survive because they're perfect. They survive because they refuse to give up on each other.